was ready, the Lord said to Noah, "Go into the boat with all your family, for among all the people of the earth I can see that you alone are righteous. Take with you 7 pairs, male and female, of each animal I have approved for eating and for sacrifice, and take 1 pair of each of the others. Also, take 7 pairs of every kind of bird. There must be a male and a female in each pair to ensure that all life will survive on the earth after the flood. 7 days from now I will make the rains pour down on the earth, and it will rain for 40 days and 40 nights, until I have wiped from the earth all the living things I have created." So Noah did everything as the Lord commanded him. Noah was 600 years old when the flood covered the earth. He went on board the boat to escape the flood, he and his wife and his sons and their wives. With them were all the various kinds of animals, those approved for eating and for sacrifice and those that were not, along with all the birds and the small animals that scurry along the ground. They entered the boat in pairs, male and female, just as God had commanded Noah. After 7 days, the waters of the flood came and covered the earth. When Noah was 600 years old, on the 17th day of the 2nd month, all the underground waters erupted from the earth, and the rain fell in mighty torrents from the sky. The rain continued to fall for 40 days and 40 nights. That very day, Noah had gone into the boat with his wife and his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives. With them in the boat were pairs of every kind of animal, domestic and wild, large and small, along with birds of every kind. 2 by 2 they came into the boat, representing every living thing that breathes. A male and female of each kind entered, just as God had commanded Noah. Then the Lord closed the door behind them. For 40 days, the flood waters grew deeper, covering the ground and lifting the boat high above the earth. As the waters rose higher and higher above the ground, the boat floated safely on the surface. Finally, the water covered even the highest mountains on the earth, rising more than 22 feet above the highest peaks. All the living things on earth died. Birds, domestic animals, wild animals, small animals that scurry along the ground, and all the people. Everything that breathed and lived on dry land died. God wiped out every living thing on the earth, people, livestock, small animals that scurry along the ground, and the birds of the sky. All were destroyed. The only people who survived were Noah and those with him in the boat. And the floodwaters covered the earth for 150 days.
Never get that feeling.
Yeah.
You know, like listening to a story and it's almost like you're hearing something way older than words.
Oh, absolutely. Like an echo of something primal.
That's the Genesis flood narrative for me, especially digging into Genesis 7 like we are today.
Yeah.
It's more than just a story, isn't it?
It really is. And it stuck with us. I mean, people have been thinking about this story for millennia.
Right. So let's unpack that a bit. Why does this story, this world submerged, still resonate so strongly? It starts, I think, with Noah. He's told to build, well...
Than a ship.
Exactly. It's like a divinely appointed lifeboat. But then it gets really specific, right? 7 pairs of clean animals, 1 pair of unclean. Why even make that distinction?
Yeah, that detail, it takes us deep into how the ancient Israelites viewed their world. Clean versus unclean. It wasn't just about, like, hygiene. It was about ritual purity, this whole system of what you could and couldn't eat, how you approached the divine.
So it's almost like, what, choosing who's worthy of being saved?
In a way, yes. It shows how deeply they connected the flood to their covenant with God. Everything had to be done just so.
And it makes that whole image of Noah, 600 years old, according to the text.
Can you imagine the stories?
Right. But even that number, that age, it's not so straightforward. Some scholars, they argue that years back then in Genesis, they were talking about lunar cycles.
Meaning Noah might have been closer to, how old would that be?
75, maybe, in our years.
Wow. Still a lifetime, but...
Right, totally. But it really makes you think about how differently they understood time. But regardless, that age, whether it's literal or symbolic, it emphasizes wisdom, right? Someone who's lived long enough to see it all and then, well, see it all get wiped
But it's
away.
important to remember it wasn't just rain.
Oh, no, not just rain.
Genesis talks about the fountains of the deep breaking open.
Like the world itself is coming undone.
Exactly. It's this incredibly vivid imagery, and you have to try and picture it from the perspective of ancient Near Eastern cosmology. They saw the world with waters above, waters below, and earth right in the middle.
So this flood, this is a whole different level of catastrophe.
Absolutely. It wasn't just a storm, it was the entire cosmic order dissolving.
Wow. And the text doesn't shy away from describing the impact either. All flesh died that moved upon the earth. Birds, domestic animals, wild animals, all swarming creatures that swarm upon the earth, and every human being. It goes on and on. Everything on dry land in whose nostrils was the breath of life died. He blotted out every living thing that was on the face of the ground. I mean,
It's dark and incredibly sad, even if you don't take it literally.
And that's what I find so fascinating, Even if we read this metaphorically, what does this story tell us about how ancient people understood their place in the world in the grand scheme of things?
I think it speaks to a deep and probably pretty healthy awareness of nature's power. It's this force that can nurture and sustain, absolutely, but it can also annihilate.
So the flood becomes a kind of symbol.
Yes, a symbol of divine judgment, of the potential consequences of human actions.
But it's not just destruction, right? I mean, there's also this element of
Hope! Exactly. It's a story of mercy, too. Because there's a chosen remnant, they survive, and they get this chance to start over, to rebuild.
It makes you think about all those flood myths,
Yeah.
we've found in cultures all over the world. It's almost like this shared memory of some ancient cataclysm.
It really does. Like, deep down, we all share this very human experience.
Yeah.
This primal fear of devastating floods and this equally strong hope for renewal in the aftermath of disaster. But I think what makes the Genesis account so unique, so enduring, is that it connects it all so directly to the divine-human relationship.
It's a story about a broken covenant, but ultimately it's also a story about second chances.
So much to think about. As you reflect on the Genesis flood narrative, what stands out to you the most? Is it the sheer scale of the destruction, the questions it raises about morality and judgment, or maybe that glimpse it offers into how ancient people saw the world and their place in it? Something to keep in mind. Until next time, keep digging.